Will Disney World ever end up being like Westworld? I think the answer to that question will most likely be no, but I also think it's not as crazy of a question as it sounds. I suppose I can't start this without first explaining Westworld. If you're old enough and have access to HBO, I cannot recommend this show enough. It is only one season right now, and it is perhaps my favorite television show to date. Like, seriously, check it out. In the show, Westworld is an experience for wealthy guests looking for a seemingly authentic Wild West adventure. The park, which is absolutely massive, is largely inhabited by robots called hosts that are virtually indiscernible from real people while also being completely unaware that they're robots themselves. This gives guests the freedom to indulge in all of their desires while at Westworld, from lust to violence, without fear of repercussions or getting hurt. All the while, they can set off on a number of adventures involving those hosts, adventures that they're the main character of. The world itself is as authentic as possible. No cafeterias, no air conditioning, no fancy hotel rooms with cable TV. As long as you're in Westworld, you're in the Wild West. It is, for all intents and purposes, a futuristic blending of video games, role-playing, and theme parks. It's also highly unlikely we'll ever see anything like it in our lifetimes. I mean, it's 2017 and we're impressed when we make a robot that doesn't fall over and we kick it, which we apparently do a lot. We're not going to have hosts like Dolores anytime soon. So then why did I even ask that question? How could Disney World ever be like Westworld when Westworld itself seems like a stretch? Well, you see, as much as the show highlights the scale of the world and the violence and the adventures, that's not what I'm getting at. What jumped out to me most when I watched the show was just how custom-tailored a Westworld experience was for a guest. When guests first arrive, they're greeted by their own host who prepares them for their time at the park, guiding them to a private changing area where guests can change into Western outfits. As one host puts it early on into the show,
"Everything is bespoke and exactly your size."
Think about that for a second. An entire room filled with bespoke clothing for that guest, most of which will go entirely unworn. After getting outfitted for their adventure, they arrive in a starting town with other guests. While not monitored constantly, guests are watched over and their adventures are sometimes altered from up high, which makes the experience more unique for them. What was most interesting to me, though, was how many new guests arrive with each train. Each drop-off seemed to only contain a handful of people. It makes sense if you think about it. If there are more guests than hosts, then going on adventures and getting into shootouts with hosts becomes just more difficult to do. A park like that requires there to be far more hosts than guests. So how can Westworld afford to stay open with all of this amazing technology and personally catered experiences for just a small number of people? It's super expensive, that's how. Thanks to an interactive part of the Westworld website, we have an idea of what the guests in the show pay for their experience there. A bare bones 1-week trip to Westworld, the absolute minimum package you can get, runs one adult $442,000. That's over $63,000 a day. It's a big step up from your average Disney vacation, which brings me to my point. Westworld is a tourist destination that focuses on catered experiences for a small number of very wealthy guests, instead of more standardized experience for people of all income levels. Can Disney World turn into that? The initial answer that comes to mind is, of course not. Disney World is meant for everybody, which is true. However, it's worth noting that as of a few months ago, your Disney vacation could have very well also involved paying extra for the ability to switch theme parks midday with a park hopper, paying $19 for a special bus to the Magic Kingdom to skip security, going on a $200 VIP tour in order to skip ahead of lines for up to 10 attractions, taking a break at a $650 a day cabana in Tomorrowland, and then paying another $120 in order to enjoy the park for a couple of extra hours in the evening after the park closes to the general public. On top of that, Disney has recently decided to adjust ticket prices to reflect the crowds of the season, and if you've really got money to spend, you can even rent out the entire parks. It's also worth noting that while attendance has been down at Walt Disney World, revenue is up. Fewer people, more money. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to argue that Disney has gone the way of Westworld and only caters to the wealthy. In fact, It's great to know that all of those paid add-ons are completely unnecessary to have a good time at Disney World at the moment. That said, it's hard to ignore that Disney has recently taken a liking to introducing more and more paid extras and paid events, which ultimately do offer a superior experience for guests with the money to spend. It's not a bad thing, so long as the base experience remains fun and accessible, but it's got me wondering just how far Disney might go with the concept. I highly doubt we'll ever see a day in which Disney World is a resort in which only the wealthy can enjoy it, but might we see a day in which these add-ons and events ultimately lead to exclusive paid experiences within the resort that only the wealthy can enjoy? The cabanas, to me, are the biggest indicator that suggests it's not a crazy question to ask. The cabanas were an experience that was exclusive to those with a spare $650 laying around. Now, it wasn't a big deal because it was ultimately just a tent with some snacks and chairs, but what's to stop Disney from expanding that idea to maybe an attraction that had a separate fee, or maybe even a park? Perhaps it wouldn't be in the form of a park with insanely high ticket prices, but maybe all it would take to go down that road is excluding such a fifth gate from normal tickets and park hoppers. We already saw something similar with Disney Quest. Why wouldn't they be able to make the equivalent of a higher class Disney Quest? Will the resort see a day in which there are significant attractions and parks that are made for more wealthy guests? Like I said at the top of the video, I think the answer is no, but the next time Disney announces another paid extra or another exclusive event that requires a ticket, ask yourself, is the question really that crazy?